Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Variant Cast. I'm joined here with Trent on this nice February evening as we're going to get into some trailer breakdowns as well as reactions to all of the big news going on right now, Trent. I know you're dying to talk about the Fantastic Four and the Deadpool trailer. I see you just chomping at the bit over there. Before we do that, we do need to discuss the legality around leap years. How does that work? I don't get it. Doesn't make sense how a day can only exist every 4 years. That doesn't seem fair.
It's true. How is it possible? What if somebody's born on leap year? Does that mean that I'm like 5 years old?
Yeah, I think I was gonna go with that joke, but then I realized that was the plot of a Zeke and Luther episode. Not sure if there's enough space in this world for both us and the Zeke and Luther writing staff.
I got you.
So we might have to step off that a little bit, but it only comes around every 4 years. Something that feels like it comes around every 4 years is a new Fantastic Four movie. There it is.
Nice segue.
Every single, yeah. Four. There's fours in there. So
technically, this is the fourth Fantastic Four movie.
Look at that. On a leap year, we're getting the news. That's beautiful. Absolutely. So we finally got the full cast as well as some kind of pictures and art that is giving us a general vibe. Why don't you go ahead and we talked about Pedro Pascal last episode, but go ahead and give us the rundown. Who's going to be playing our four favorite or our first family of Marvel?
Yeah, so it's seemingly confirmed that Vanessa Kirby is going to play Sue Storm. She was in Mission Impossible, among other things. But I think his name is Kyle Quinn. Hold on, I should have the cast pulled up. But
sorry, I didn't. So that's why I threw it to you.
Yeah, so Eben Ross something from The Bear. He plays Richie in The Bear. He is playing. He's playing the Thing, and I think that's great casting. And there's a character from Stranger Things who was just introduced last season, and he's going to play Johnny Storm. He seems to be the one that people aren't the most sold on, but I think that he's a fresh like actor in Hollywood, and he hasn't played a lot of roles, so I feel like people just haven't like seen him act as like a Johnny Storm type character. But I think he'll do a good job. And the poster that we got is very like 60s style. The Thing is sitting there reading a Life magazine that the cover is actually from the 60s, so this seemingly confirms that it's going to take place in the 60s. And they got a nice little Herbie robot right there. Hopefully they got somebody good voicing that. But I dig the vibe of this picture. I like they kind of have like a spacesuit vibe, or a spacesuit style suit going on, and I really like that. I think that if the movie is anything in the style of this, I think we're in for something good.
Yeah, I think the best cast, like just straight up, has to be I'm just gonna try to pronounce his name. Eben Moss Baccarat, maybe, who knows? But like you said, he plays in The Bear, and I think that's absolutely amazing cast right there. I think he's gonna fit flawlessly. Really, when you're talking about the Thing, you're talking about voice.
Yeah,
and I think pretty effortlessly he has that voice that you're looking for with Ben Grimm. So I'm stoked about that. He also plays the nice like tough guy exterior, depressed on the inside kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
That I think you need to do. So I think that one's easiest to see. I think the rest of them, Vanessa Kirby, it's hard because I don't think we've had a good representation of Sue Storm, like at all. I feel like
because she is like the strongest character, like she's like the strongest member of the team. Like without her, they can't go anywhere. Like she's the one that makes them little platforms that allows them to fly places. Like she's the one that like literally covers them when they're about to get hit with a rocket and covers them in an invisible force field. Like she is the strongest character in I feel like it's gonna be represented in this movie.
I'm interested to see what kind of character they give her, because obviously I don't know if Sue Storm's really been given a character at all in the previous movies.
Yeah.
Generally it's kind of just the girl of the group. I think in the comics she's a bit headstrong and little snarky. I don't know if that's the entire run or just the stuff I've seen, but I'm definitely interested to see how they tackle her, because I think the other ones, they're simple, right? Like you have Mr. Fantastic, he's an egomaniac and he's a genius, and he makes the right decision in the end most of the time. Ben Grimm's easy, tough exterior, he's literally a caricature of himself. And Johnny Storm's generally the wisecracking young kid. So now that we're out of the era where the girl of the group is just girl or something to gawk at some point in the theater, we're finally past that point in society.
Yeah.
I'm very interested, I think, mostly with her. Also, it taking place in the 60s is another interesting note. Is this going to follow the same kind of thing where Marvel just kind of doesn't acknowledge that racism and sexism existed? Because they definitely have done that with Loki. There's a lot of scenes where they go back in the 1800s and there's like a black man on the stage. It's just not generally something that was happening. But I mean, I don't care too much about that stuff. If you're big on historical accuracy, then maybe that'll get you in the bunch. But I think with it being a period piece, the biggest question is, how do they get to the MCU? Is this the MCU in the past, or is this another universe that they are going to end up in the future with?
Yeah. Well, if you remember back to the last Doctor Strange movie, he says something to Reed Richards about them charting in the 60s. So it could be a thing where they get, like in the comics, it's like a thing all the time where they get trapped in like a negative zone and then they come out like 40 years later or whatever. So it could just be a thing where they just like, it's going to be like kind of another out of time story, but it's like going to be like the whole group that's out of time instead of just Captain America. Cause that was a little bit similar to what Captain America's arc was in the Avengers. But, I think that's probably the easiest way to do it, is to like say that, at the end of the movie, they get trapped in this thing, and or maybe they even come out at the very end and they're in the modern day world.
The 60s is an interesting period in Marvel because there wasn't a lot going on other than like the Winter Soldier and Captain America. There wasn't like superheroes really. So I think it'll be super interesting, one, seeing the MCU in the 60s. If you watched What If, you got a little bit of that in like the 90s, which I thought was cool. Just seeing the MCU in different periods that we hadn't yet. So I think that's probably what they'll do. Now, thinking about it, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think you could have a lot of fun with the group showing up to the modern day MCU and seeing things like New Asgard, like that's just on Earth, like stuff like that, big statue coming out of the ground, like all of that stuff I think would be kind of fun to touch on. And you obviously don't want to make it too MCU centric of a story, but little bumps and nods to that I think are fun. And I really happy with the cast. I don't obviously, like, if I was picking it, I would have picked different, but
I totally trust this cast and the director too, because he's the one that directed WandaVision, and so I feel like he really gets the style of the eras from like the one episode that we saw of each era in WandaVision. So if he translates that at all to Fantastic Four, I think it's gonna be a good movie.
Yeah, no, I'm super interested to see what he does. Matt Shackman, he's been a TV director his whole life, pretty much. I'm just kind of looking through here. Doesn't look like he has a movie.
Didn't he direct?
No,
maybe not.
Try, try to confirm. I think this might be his movie debut. No, he's done a few smaller things. But this is like the first movie he is making in like 10 years.
Hmm.
He directed an episode of The Boys. He directed an episode of Succession. He's like, I would assume, a pretty well-respected TV director. An episode of Always Sunny, episode of Fargo. We did Raising Hope. Like, if you go way back, there's just a bunch of interesting like credits that he has.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think they're hoping to kind of strike gold twice with the Russos and what they were able to get out of them. And hopefully this is an example of Marvel taking a risk and giving someone a shot rather than it is just giving it to a no-name guy so that they could kind of manipulate him a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I know that's also a narrative with them picking these no-name directors.
Yeah. And I feel like it has a chance to be something where it stands on its own, because I think over the last the last year, Marvel has thought about it a little bit more and decided to slow down all of their stuff and put out things that like actually have like a director's touch on it, because they probably realized that like, oh, Ant-Man, we probably controlled a little bit too much of the story, but with Guardians 3, we literally let James Gunn do his thing, and that was our like highest grossing movie last year. So I could definitely see them moving that direction, and it kind of seems like it's that case too with the new movie that we got a trailer of this week, which was Deadpool 2.
Yeah, and we're gonna be breaking down that. So if you are watching the video portion of this, you should be able to see kind of the points that we're pausing. If you're not, don't worry. We are going to be explaining everything we're seeing here.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be the next Marvel movie coming out, obviously. And it, got a nice little 2.5-minute trailer drop. And we got the title drop instead of being Deadpool 3, as we've all been calling it for the last few years at this point. It is Deadpool and Wolverine, which not only separates it from the Fox films, but also puts Wolverine in the title of an MCU movie, which knew he was on it, but him being in the title kind of confirms that he's probably going to be there throughout the entire runtime of the movie, which is exciting. I kind of thought he might be a one-act guy where he's there for like Act 2 or something and maybe the climax, but it seems like it is a team-up movie through and through. Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I love it. And I know that the director has been talking about getting together Ryan Reynolds. I think it's Sean Levy, who directed Stranger Things and also directed the Free Guy, the Ryan Reynolds video game movie. But right. He's been talking for a long time about, or he also directed Real Steel, the Hugh Jackman movie. So he's been talking a long time about getting Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds together in a movie. And it just seems like the perfect project for them to explore like their friendship, because I feel like they're great friends in real life, so it's going to translate great to on screen. And yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah. So the trailer opens up and you get looks like about 30 to 40 seconds of straight Fox universe. Starts out, he's got hair. You're like, what's going on? It looks like it's a toupee, and it later revealed it is a toupee. But the TVA basically shows up at his door, ready to prune him.
TVA looking a little bit different.
Looking a lot different. They look less goofy. I think the TVA in Low-Key, they were, I don't know, their uniforms, they look like little troopers, I guess I could. But these guys look like more military.
Mm-hmm.
And they just pull him through the standard time door. All of that kind of looks the same effects there. And that's kind of the open until you get to the Marvel logo, and then just standard like TVA boardroom. There's a guy that we've never seen before. So it seems like the TVA not only has been reconstructed, but it's also like been completely revamped. There's new people. And I wonder if this is low-key maybe like why are these people here? I doubt he just pulled them out of timelines.
Yeah.
I think he'd have a different reason as to why these people are here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think that it's definitely a different TVA, and maybe they serve a different purpose now. I saw some theories online that said maybe like there's a different Deadpool in a universe that's like trying to kill all the Marvel characters, and so they like picked him up out of a universe to like go try to track down that one to kill him or something like that. I could see something like that happening.
I could see that. I mean, it doesn't really... I guess it would be kind of strange if they would mess up the timeline further by pulling one out to try to stop this one, but I think that'd be fun. The Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe thing.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, they're going to have to acknowledge that it's a different universe.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to have to acknowledge there's no Spider-Man, there's no, like, Iron Man in the universe he comes from. And we're assuming he's coming into the MCU here.
Yeah.
So how does he get to the MCU of all things? And
maybe
would make the most sense that it's about that belt or whatever like device that he had at the end of 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we kind of go from the TVA shots, which look similar to the interior of the TVA, but just slightly different.
Yeah, a little bit upgraded, a little bit more modern.
Yeah. The TVA always had kind of like an 80s kind of feel to it. Maybe I'm off on that read, but it still kind of does looking at it. They still have the old TVs. You get a shot of them looking at those TVs, and they're just basically playing like all the old Avengers movies. There's a scene from Iron Man, Age of Ultron, like the big team up shot that you get at the beginning of the movie, and then Thor Ragnarok for some reason, but you know.
What I love about these types of shots in movies is just like, how did they get these like in universe? How did they get these camera angles?
I always think about that as well. I do like it when shows go the extra mile to try to make it look like a different camera angle.
Yeah.
I like that. But they didn't seem to. Looks like most of those are from the show. And there's also like, I think it's interesting because there's the first shot where they show what feels to me like him briefing him on the Avengers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, here are all the Avengers. But then the second shot is all Captain America. It's all Captain America Winter Soldier, to be exact.
Interesting.
So why would there be one showing all shots from Captain America Winter Soldier? The shots they have is where he fights George St. Pierre. I forgot what his name is in universe. The Leaper.
Yeah. Batroc.
The boat scene.
Batroc the Leaper.
Yeah. And then there's another where he's like jumping down, doing the hero landing at the end, and one of him in the elevator. And Ryan Reynolds Deadpool is saluting in this scene to Captain America. So it seems like this is not like a trailer kind of editing sneaky, and like these are going to have something else on the screens for the actual movie. It seems like this is actually showing Captain America. So he's hitting it with the salute. So why is the question, obviously. Does maybe this movie have more to do with Cap messing up the timeline? That has been heavily theorized, with him going back in time, living his whole life, and then being old. Maybe he has to go back in time and kill Cap before he lives his happy life, because that was messing things up, you know?
Yeah. I think that it's interesting that those are all shots from Winter Soldier, because there's that other shot in the trailer where he's like in like a wintry forest, and that's in Age of Ultron takes place right after Winter Soldier. And the
so
opening of Age of Ultron, where that's set. That's interesting.
Right. Right. And the other shots. Wait, going back here. We're going back again. We're going back to the initial shots where it's showing the Avengers, and you obviously get the Age of Ultron shot. I don't know for sure. I'm pretty sure the shot of Iron Man is also from Age of Ultron, though.
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, so that's an Age of Ultron shot.
And the Ragnarok.
And then randomly Ragnarok. But that was taking place at the same time as Age of Ultron.
No, it's taking place at the same time as Civil War. Not Age of
Ultron. Right. Not Age of Ultron. Okay.
That is very interesting.
But no, he left. He wasn't at the final battle because he left to go look for the Infinity Stones. So, like, it's not quite the same time, but it's, like, almost, I guess.
Because at that point in Ragnarok, Hulk is there on that bridge with them.
Yeah. So then you get more shots. You get the back of some bald guy's head.
Or is it the ancient one? That's the first thing I thought of.
That looks like the ancient one, yeah. Because their head looks a bit thinner. It's not like a big, bulky, thick bald head. It's like a thin, smooth bald head, you know?
Yeah.
Big differences there.
Mm-hmm.
Ancient one would make some sense with it just being like timeline stuff. Also, maybe that could be an interesting little bit. They always talk about how they're like helping from the background, and obviously in game we got to visit the Battle of New York. Maybe in this one we visit the Battle of Sokovia, and we find out that the Ancient One was there helping people as well, you know?
Yeah.
Could be.
Interesting.
Then you get a shot of Deadpool. It looks like he's in like the mouth of something.
Yeah, people theorize that that's like a Deadpool, Dino Deadpool from the comics. Similar to how in Into the Spider-Verse there was a Spider-Man T-Rex.
Yeah, I could see it. I could also see it maybe being one of those big whale creatures that are like always there. Although I imagine those would look different.
Yeah.
On the inside, but who knows? I've never seen one. Then we get a cool shot of Deadpool walking into this like gala, upscale, gambling, and you see the classic haircut of Wolverine from behind, and that's like the big, not reveal, but little tease for what you're about to get.
Mm-hmm.
Then he says he's Marvel Jesus. So I think that line has more to do with the plot than I think a lot of people are paying attention to. Like, I don't know what it 100% means, but I guess maybe he's gonna
have to save the whole timeline.
Like, maybe he's like perceiving the TVA as gods. And they're like, hey, we're going to send you down. And he's like, so I'm Marvel Jesus? Like, I'm the one going down there kind of thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows? Bit of ass slapping. Nice little suit up scene.
The Mickey Mouse's glove grabbing his crotch. That's nice.
Yeah. That was a nice touch. This snowy scene has to be like the fight before. In
Age of Ultron?
Yeah, no. Because there's like, okay. There's a scene in the snowy forest. This has to be from Age of Ultron. Like, it has the flipped truck, which I'm pretty sure is like an Age of Ultron flipped truck thing. So it looks like we are going back to the Age of Ultron kind of time. Then you see, is that the 20th Century Fox logo?
Yeah.
Buried in the snow. Actually, this isn't the snow, so they edit this to make it look like it's the same scene.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's a desert.
Yeah, it's a desert. There's sand, so I think the snow is the Age of Ultron kind of flashback or back in time, and then this scene is probably going to be some sort of like land, like Badlands, or
that's what I was thinking. Almost like a Sakaar almost, but of like the multiverse is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Like where things go where it's just like they're like abandoned like abandoned things that have no timeline or something like that.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. It's like once their timeline, this is where things go when the timeline ends or something like that.
Yeah.
So you get a nice little reload scene, him catching the mag in with the everyone. Okay. So then I'm guessing they go to another scene where it looks like there's the same darkness kind of thing from the Loki episode. If you remember when you meet all the like Kid Loki, Alligator Loki, there's like this weird like mist kind of thing. Looks like there's a similar effect here. As well as looks like motorcycles from World War One, like that Cap rides. World War Two, maybe. That Cap rides.
Yeah.
In First Adventure. But also they could just be random motorcycles. But hey, it's not a trailer breakdown if you're not falsely attributing something to something else. Then nice scene of him breaking some bones and coming back before there's this really weird shot where you're back in like the desert and then looks like it might be a satellite shooting out, or I really don't know. There's a weird like sand raider, so it looks like there's a helicarrier in the background. Bunch of stuff going on here. I wouldn't be surprised if this is set up for Secret Wars, and this is maybe where they're going to be fighting instead of Battle World. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me either.
Get a few more fast cut shots, just kind of going through. I didn't really notice anything through there. A nice shot of him in a car, seats pulled down, blood everywhere.
Returning character, everyone's favorite character from X2, Pyro, who was in it for 2 minutes. He makes his return.
See, I appreciate you saying that because I don't think I've watched X2 since it came out, and I was like 5, so or 4. I think it was like 2004. It was wild. So Pyro is in this movie for all the Pyro fans.
Love that.
And then you get the reveal that everyone's been clamoring for, even though we knew it was going to happen. It's different to see it in movement. And we see it in movement with a pretty classic shot. I think this will it's already been memed, but I think this will be the image everyone thinks of. Yeah, that is right.
Yeah.
When they think of this movie, it's the shadow of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine standing over him. And then you see the claws come out, and looks like he is going to stab him in the gut. I'm guessing he's going to stab him in the gut and then like pick him up and like talk to him like that.
Yeah. That's usually
standard like Wolverine stuff.
How they meet in the comics.
Right.
Stabbing each other in the chest.
So yeah, that's the breakdown for Deadpool and Wolverine. A lot of stuff there. I'm very interested to see, what direction they actually go with it, because I think this, out of any movie, you could have gone like the most varied routes with, but it seems like what they're doing is what to be expected, but it's not super predictable, at least to me.
Yeah.
I don't look at it and I'm like, oh, I know the entire plot, but I also don't look at it and like, okay, what's happening here?
Yeah.
It's a nice little middle ground.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like the previous Deadpool movies have been good about that too, of not revealing a lot in the trailers. And I hope that we get more. I remember marketing leading up to Deadpool 1 and 2. They always did like Deadpool React, YouTube videos where he would like react to different stuff. And there was like even a thing where he like Korg was on there, and it was like Korg and Deadpool, so they could easily do some more marketing or something like that. I could see that happening.
Right, because Deadpool 2 came out like right at the acquisition, right, or like a little bit after.
Yeah, it was like right after that. The acquisition was like announced, and then Dark Phoenix was released.
Right. Yeah, so I think we'll definitely get more of that. I could imagine just Korg as just coming back. Seems like Taika's down to do Korg whenever.
Yeah.
Like we were watching What If, and they didn't get all the voice actors back for What If 3, which fair enough. It's probably expensive enough.
Mm-hmm.
Or What If 2. But Korg was there. Taika was there.
Yeah. That man will do anything.
So yeah, that is that. I do like the way it's looking. I have some faith in this director, despite my feelings towards Bullet Train, which we're about to get into here. So Bullet Train was Trent's recommendation for me to watch as we were ending off last week's show. If you don't know, we give each other a movie every single week, so stay tuned to the end of this episode if you want to know what we're talking about next week. But this week was Bullet Train, which is a 2-hour and 6-minute movie that should have been 90 minutes. Man.
Yeah.
This movie is interesting because I'm watching it at first and I'm like, okay, I'm not really into this. They're doing a lot of exposition. I just want the bullet train. Show me fight scenes, show me something. And then it just like hits its stride. Like about 15 minutes into the movie, it starts moving. Stuff's happening. There's all these different subplots. It feels very Knives Outy for a minute. You're like, okay, there's all this stuff going on. There's all this espionage. Someone's double-crossing someone. Someone's got this plot. Another person's got this plot. And it feels like, okay, all of these plots are going to kind of like mess around for a bit. They're going to intertwine, and then they're all going to come to a climax all at once. And that just never happens. It just keeps going. The movie just keeps going. And there's never like a reason for like these character motivations and who these characters are. They're just all doing stuff. They all want the money. And then there's this weird, like, I don't know if it's samurai, Japanese cartel subplot that's going. It's not the subplot, it's the main plot of like the White Death, and he's killing people, or he did kill people in the past. And because of that, that's why we're worried about this briefcase. And I don't know, man. It seemed like they could have just made it a lot simpler.
Yeah.
By saying, hey, they stole this money from the White Death. Who cares? Keep that in. And everybody wants it. And everyone on this train is plotting for it. And all the hijinks ensue. And then 90 minutes later, either someone gets the briefcase or they don't. I don't care at that point. But I don't know, man. It felt like we were just at the end. It's like, okay, now it's this big fight scene.
For what?
Why? For why? I don't know. I think Brad Pitt was good in it, although like his character was a little bit annoying. He's just like anytime anyone talks to him about anything, he's just like, you could be talking to him about like, oh yeah, it's raining outside. That's wild. Oh yeah, I just only have bad luck. That's my luck. I just got no good luck in me. It's all bad luck. He says like that, the phrase like all I have is bad luck or bad luck like probably 20 times in this movie. He's like super anxious as well, which I think would have made for a really interesting character, having this super anxious, self-pitying guy that's also like looks like Brad Pitt and is an assassin that's really good at things. But he just doesn't get enough development for me to care about him. So the whole time I'm just waiting for him to die or something. I'm just constantly waiting for someone to die. No one dies. People get shot in the chest and they don't die. Someone gets their neck slit and they just like live for like way too long. It feels like there's no stakes at a certain point. And then at a certain point, I don't even know what we're doing. Like, it's, I think the best thing you could say about it from the director side of things is it is shot well.
Yeah.
I'm upset that in the action scenes are shot really well. Knowing that it's the Deadpool director makes so much sense because like it has that same vibe of action scene. Mm-hmm. But why did we need to go on these different forking routes? I also wanted to shout out Joey King because she killed it. She was so good. This movie should have just been Joey King and Brad Pitt. Like, you could have the side characters, but Joey King should have just been the full-on villain. You may know her from Ramona and Beezus, but you probably, if you've watched the Kissing Booth movies, she's the Kissing Booth girl.
Yeah.
And I knew she could act from those movies, but I think this really is her crowning achievement so far. Although she's not amazing, I think she deserves to get cast in more serious stuff because she can act, and this is not a role I would have initially put her in. So, the fact that she killed it, I'm pretty stoked to see that, and she just got married. So,
oh yeah, I recommended this movie last week, and then I looked at my Letterboxd review, and I gave it 2 stars. So. I told you it was a decent movie last week, but sometimes
that's fine. That's fine. It's okay. We could watch a bad movie every now and again. I think,
and the action sequences were kind of fun.
Yeah, no, the action sequences are fun, and it's like half a good movie.
Yeah,
like a 50% Rotten Tomatoes score is perfect because it's just half a good movie.
Yeah,
and if it was shorter, it's like they kept the more they wrote, the more they tripped over themselves. They just needed to keep it clean, simple, short. This is a fun little action movie with a twist at some point, but they wanted to do like 4 or 5 twists. They wanted it to be this complex writing thing that they just weren't able to execute. And it's painfully obvious that they weren't able to execute it. I thought Brian Tyree Henry, who plays Lemon with the Thomas the Tank Engine stuff, that was solid. He would have been like a fun kind of, I don't know, like side villain, but for some reason he has to be with Aaron Taylor Johnson. And they're brothers. That's a reveal at some point that they're brothers. I don't know why they waited an hour into the movie to reveal that. I wasn't like, wow, they're brothers. I already knew they cared about each other.
That's crazy.
It was such a weird, like, framed as this big twist, and you're like, why would I care?
Yeah, like, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
The guys we thought were friends are friends. So yeah. Zazie Beetz was in this as the Hornet, which they build up like the Hornet. I thought the whole thing is the Hornet was like the big bad at the end. The Hornet. But no, the Hornet was just like another side villain that poison. Yeah, there's just so much. There's too much. But she's always great. So shout out Zazie Beetz.
Yeah.
I think I would probably give it a 1.5 or a 2 star out of 5. I think it's a interesting movie. My favorite scene they didn't even show us, so my favorite scene wasn't even actually in the movie, and that was Aaron Taylor Johnson hanging on to the bullet train as they're like, he got left at the station, so he's just like hanging on and he like punches himself in. That was just absurd. Why did they even write him getting left at the station?
Just
like,
so
why
could do that.
Make the scene? But then they don't even show him jumping on it. They just show him on it, punching his way in. Yeah. Like, if you're gonna go through the effort to take him off of the train, you have to also go through the effort of putting him back on the train. You can't just cut to him on the hanging on to the train. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my review of Bullet Train. I'd watch it if you're a fan of action movies, because there is some good action in there. But if you're a fan of well-written stories, maybe not. But speaking of well-written stories, we are. We were gonna go into the news, but I feel like we got to talk about this one. We got to talk about Madam Web.
Yep.
The latest with the Valentine's Day release date. It was hoping to be another smash hit.
Yep. For the Sony Pictures universe of of Marvel movies, the Spum universe.
Starring Sydney Sweeney, Dakota Johnson, Isabella Merced, and Emma Roberts. Coming in at a 14% on Rotten Tomato.
So that was my rot of last month. So go ahead and cash that.
Congrats.
Yeah, so that was a pretty given one. We all expected this one to be bad. Just maybe not as bad as it actually was, because people are calling this worse than Morbius. They're calling it not great. They're calling it essentially a bad Final Destination movie. That's what I've heard it described as. It's just interesting. I heard that it's got like an interesting premise, because like it is similar to, from what I understand, Final Destination, where she could kind of see the future of what's going to happen, and she's like, I guess, trying to like prevent it or something. But apparently it's just not executed well.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like a Sony movie. Actually, I mean, interesting premise. I don't think they normally do that. So, nice job on the interesting premise.
Yeah.
As a budget of $80 million, so you have to assume with marketing and stuff, they're gonna need this movie to do over $200 million to break even.
Yeah.
And let's hope for them, for their sake. But I don't understand why this movie was made. And like, I felt kind of like a hater early on hearing it, like Madam Web, but like, come on, guys. Unless someone came to you and was like, I want to make a Madam Web movie.
Yeah.
I've
been planning this for the last 10 years of my life. Okay.
Yeah, if Edgar Wright knocks on the door and is like, "Hey, my whole life I've wanted to make an Edgar Wright Madam Web movie. I need this." Then fine. Then fund it. But don't just make it to make it. I don't. Why? The director, S.J. Clarkson, never really directed anything else. And it's not like, I guess she was also a TV show director, so it's kind of the same thing. Directed episodes of Orange is the New Black, Succession. Directed a couple episodes of The Defenders. But is that really the best idea to give someone like to me? It makes a lot more sense to give Fantastic Four to someone that may not have the biggest name, because Fantastic Four is going to move itself. It's going to have its own like kind of flow to it and checkpoints that you could hit along the way. Madam Web needed to be carried by writing and directing. It needed to.
Yeah.
And they just set it up where, it's S.J. Clarkson really had no shot. She really didn't.
No. Same with the cast too. I feel like they had no idea what they're signing on for. Like, I'm sure that their agency probably came to them and was like, "Hey, you want to be in a Marvel movie?" And they're like, "Hell yeah, I want to be in a Marvel movie." And then like they get signed the contract and everything, and they're like, "You're playing Madam Web," and they're like, "Who?" And you're like, "This is a Sony movie. Aren't you excited?" And they're like, "I thought I was working for Disney." And they're like, Oh no, 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 no. There was
Every once in a while.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go for it.
Oh, I was gonna
You
say
go
there
for
was
it.
some baffling lines that I heard are in this movie. Apparently, at one point, somebody tells Uncle Ben, "What? You don't want to get shot in Queens?" Yeah, yeah. So just straight up, just the dumbest thing ever. And apparently, at one point, he's like, "God, I can't wait to be an uncle." It's just like stuff.
I heard like most. I can't wait to be an uncle. Goddamn. I heard most of the like characters don't even like most of the Spider Women don't even have powers. Like in it,
They're just like visions.
yeah, just like weird. Like they just kind of are there.
Weird.
I don't know. It's a very strange movie. What I was gonna say is like I sometimes look back at movies from like the early 2000s, especially superhero movies from the early 2000s, like Catwoman, and I'm like, how did this ever get made? Same with Daredevil. Same with Elytra. All those movies, like, how did they get made? They look so goofy. They seem to not have any passion in them.
Yeah.
Why were they being made? And there's no way anyone would make a movie like that now. I think this is the closest example. From what I'm hearing, I haven't seen it yet, so I'm not going to judge too hard. But in terms of just a failure that you could see miles away happening, like everyone knew this was going to be a bad movie.
Yeah.
We all were like, yeah, there's no way that this is good. They tried to get ahead of it. If you remember a couple weeks back, we talked about the headlines of Dakota Johnson being like, yeah, no, it was kind of insane. We did the whole thing on a green screen, like the whole thing. It's absolutely unhinged. She didn't say it looked good. She just said, yeah, it's pretty crazy that we did that. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's... So they were trying to get ahead of not only how bad this movie looked, but also just like how bad this movie is in general.
Yeah.
So tough shake for Sony. I like to think that this might teach them a lesson, but it hasn't yet.
Yeah. Maybe after this and Craven and the Venom burnout of Venom 3, maybe Sony will finally put the final nail in the coffin.
It really feels like it's a good time if you could convince Kevin to like, hey, could you absorb our universe too? Just like
we'll sell the Sony universe to you, but you have to add Madam Web to the Avengers.
And Morbius.
Yeah.
And El Mundo.
Yeah.
We didn't even make that. Well, I'm a little pissed they didn't make that movie, but they made this movie.
I think it's back in development. They just announced El Muerto back in development without Bad Bunny.
So they saw the screenings for this and they were like, we need more.
Yeah, they're like
we need more.
We need to get a hit. Get him back in here.
I was just reading some of these reviews. This one kind of echoed what I said. Madam Web has some good ideas, but poor execution, mimicking the worst aspects of early 2000s comic book movies, drags down the entire production into something as thin and flimsy as a spider web. That's from Caitlin Booth from Bleeding Cool. So from the vibe I was getting, seems like it was the vibe. But let's read a positive review. This is from Christy Lemire from RogerEbert.com. She says, Madam Web is not the unmitigated disaster that its clunky trailer or its calendar spot in February would suggest. She gave it a 2.5 out of 4. So, you know. It seems like most of the positive reviews just say, it's fine. And the negative ones are like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. So,
yeah.
Some classic 14% Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I do not think that I'll be watching this one. I think this might be... Oh, no, I didn't watch Morbius either. I was like, this might be the first Sony movie that I haven't watched, but I haven't watched Morbius yet either.
For me, it'll depend on runtime. If anything's like mercifully short. It is 2 hours. Never mind. I will not be watching this. If you give me an hour and 20-minute movie, you could convince me to watch it a lot of the time. But that extra 40 minutes, it is real.
Yeah.
Just like a lot of these leaks and rumors have turned out to be real, including the like randomly popping up with the Pedro Pascal like stuff.
Yep.
I guess that meant that news was dropping. So, when there's smoke, there's fire, and we're gonna go through some of these. It's been a few days since we've gone through them. I think one thing that happened that we didn't talk about was the like Wile E. Coyote movie that Warner Bros. Scrapped.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that like a James Gunn like production?
Yeah, he produced
or
it.
like he was a producer.
Yeah. I don't know who the director was of that, but yeah, it was a James Gunn produced movie, and it had John Cena in it, and I think Will Forte was also in it. So a bunch of great actors, and that seems to be just like shelved indefinitely now because, from my understanding, so they were trying to shop it around because there was all the backlash online of them not releasing it, so they were shopping it around, but they had a number in mind of $70 million that they wanted for it, but they didn't tell any of the other companies that were bidding on it that was their number. So they got like an offer for like 60 million from Apple, and they're like, no, thank you for your offer, but no. And they didn't even tell them that they needed an extra. They just needed an extra $10 million, and then they just closed all the negotiations after everyone gave them a number that was lower than 70. So, and then apparently now they're just scrapping it.
Yeah, they want to delete it. They must have a really good insurance provider or something.
Yeah.
That this movie that they made, they don't want to sell it for 60 million because like obviously the layman kind of brain response is like, why don't you just release it? Just release it. Better than nothing than just deleting it. You put all that work into it. Just release it. And that is the logical thing. I'm not telling you it's illogical, but like there's a lot that goes on with the insurance side of things,
Mm-hmm.
and if you take that big of a loss on a movie, you may end up making more than the 60 million that you would have got from the streaming. So like I could understand why they might do it from that sense, but this is Warner Bros. What is the most famous case of this in recent history? It's Batgirl. So it's like,
Yeah.
there's a trend here.
Yeah.
And it just sucks because like the people that work on these movies, that work the hardest on these movies, aren't the people that are writing the checks, aren't the people that are like doing this like insurance claims. It's the people that are like actually making the movie, and that goes beyond the actors and directors. That's the entire cast and crew that put their heart into this movie that now just they can't even show their family. It's pretty whack.
Yeah.
But Prey 2 is in the works at least. So there's that. Did you watch Prey?
Yeah. Prey was good.
Prey was good. Like nothing earth-shattering, but Prey was good. So
Yeah.
Shout out Prey. I actually liked it a lot more than I expected to.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a cool kind of period piece in a time period we don't really get a lot of. So
Yeah, and it's almost like a fully like quiet movie too. Like there's a little bit of talk.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of talking, but yeah, I thought it was a really interesting take on something.
It's a quiet action movie, which like you don't get a ton of, especially like an Alien. I guess this is a Predator movie. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
So, looks like they're also is also set to direct a new Predator movie, Badlands, that will be filming later this year.
Okay.
So they're doing not only Prey 2, but also another Predator movie.
Set in the modern day.
Right? Yeah, I guess. A lot of people are wanting it set in different eras, so Just every era, do it. A Western Predator, and that's actually a really fun idea.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah, a Western Predator would go. Feudal Japan. I saw another one. I was like that. Honestly, any time period, I would love to see
the Romans.
Like the Romans. That'd be sick. Get Zack Snyder to direct a Predator movie set during Roman times.
That'd be sick.
Another Round, which is a movie. Another Round.
Oh yeah.
Director
I've seen this
Thomas Vinterberg gives his thoughts on Chris Rock directing an American remake.
So this was
if it's shit,
a Swedish
he'll
movie.
get slapped again.
Yeah, that's a great comment. So this was a Swedish movie that was like very critically acclaimed, and it only came out like 5 years ago or something, starring Mads Mikkelsen, and I'm pretty sure this movie is being produced and starring like Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, but yeah, it's essentially about a teacher who's like drinking on the job, and then he tries to like slowly increase his like blood alcohol level to see if he keeps it like at a certain level all the time, if he could just function normally. So like over a certain amount of time, he just slowly builds up and drinks a little bit more alcohol and a little bit more alcohol. It's a really interesting movie. Yeah.
Is it not in English?
No, it's not in English. It's like a Swedish movie.
Okay.
But yeah, so I think that's probably why they're remaking it, is just because like there's just like a mental barrier of a lot of people not wanting to watch foreign films. But I don't really see the need for a remake because the other movie's great.
I just checked 2020. Like it's not even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
By the time it comes out, it will be 5 years. But yeah, I don't necessarily think. I think if you're gonna do that, give it like 20 years, kind of thing, to where it's to the point that not only can you offer something other than a different language.
Yeah.
Because that's all you're really offering is in English. So like give me something else, and in 20 years you could do that with the advancements in technology. I don't think you need to rush to remake a foreign hit. I don't think the concept of alcoholism is going anywhere. I don't think we need to capitalize on that while it's hot.
Yeah.
It'll probably still be here in 20 years. So it's a little silly, but hey, if it's shit, Chris Rock's getting slapped again.
Yeah. I'm here for it.
Then David Fincher is quietly working on a American version of Squid Game for Netflix.
Again. Why?
Half of America has seen Squid Game already.
Yeah.
They're doing a bit too much with the Squid Game thing. Squid Game was absolutely a phenomenon, but now we have a Squid Game reality TV show. There's like a Squid Game season 2 coming out, and now they want to do a Squid Game, an American Squid Game. Okay. How about just like a different idea? There's so many ideas.
Yeah.
Just a different one. Is there really that big of a Squid Game market, and I'm just missing it? Because last I checked, like, Mr. Beast has already done like a lot of the Squid Game stuff.
Yeah.
And they just stepped on his toes with that because they were like, the world needs more Squid Game. Our favorite. Trying to say something nice. One sec. Our favorite woman that works in the upper management of Sony, Amy Pascal, on a live action Miles Morales movie someday. Not until we make 2 more movies. Introducing him in the final movie of Holland's last trilogy.
So 2 more. Oh. 2 more Tom Holland Spider-Man movies? Or are they talking about Into the Spider-Verse and the Spider-Man film?
No, she's saying live action Holland movies. So give 2 movies of Tom Holland by himself, and then in the 3rd movie, he's going to be with Miles.
Yeah.
By himself. Yeah.
I can see that happening.
I can see that happening. It's wild that she's so like
just
forward.
Here it
with
is,
that.
yeah.
Because that's exactly what I expected to happen. But like, how old is Amy Pascal at this point? Like, is she
get
gonna
5 Spider-Man movies?
Look. Say what you want about Amy. She is 65. There's no way Miles would show up until she's like in her 70s.
Yeah.
And she's still just like, hell yeah. We're Sony Pictures, baby. So I respect that side of things. Midnight Suns film is reportedly in the works. Midnight Suns spelled with a U, as this is kind of Dark Avengers kind of thing.
Yeah.
But not like Dark Avengers, like villain Avengers, but more like underworld dark.
Yeah, it's like
Avengers.
Ghost Rider. You got maybe like
Blade?
a Baron Mordo. Yeah, Blade.
Punisher.
Yeah, Doctor Strange is in there for a little bit.
This might be is this the first opportunity to get Punisher in the MCU? Probably. Unless he's going to show up in Deadpool.
Yeah, he's showing up in Daredevil.
Oh, okay. I said Deadpool. Daredevil.
But
okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense for him, and bring back. I guess they might do. They might bring in a Johnny Blaze, but I'd love to see a continuation of the Ghost Rider from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because he did a good job, Diego Luna.
Yeah. Mark Ruffalo was told by Kevin Feige that Hulk will never get another solo film.
Kind of harsh.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Kind of harsh. That's what I was like. I was like, the way this sounds, it's like Kevin Feige just like called Mark Ruffalo one day while he was just minding his own business, and he was like, "Hey, Mark,
just like
Hulk's never getting another solo film."
Yeah.
Hangs up.
People ask, stop saying that there's a chance.
I don't understand. I mean, clearly, how this deal, it's with Paramount, I'm pretty sure, how this deal happened. That, like, they own all the rights. They just don't own the solo film rights, and they can't get them back.
Yeah.
Paramount can't make a Hulk movie because they don't have the rights. But Marvel can't make the movie because they don't have the rights. It's weird.
Yeah.
And then there was a new look at Joker 2 where you could see Lady Gaga as Harley.
Mm-hmm.
Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix look like a real couple. So
yeah,
there's that.
It's like they're gonna imagine themselves in a play, so gonna get some musical elements. Be interesting.
I know a cinematographer did come out and say it's not a musical.
Oh, he did say it's not a musical?
He said it's not a traditional musical. Yeah, it's not a full-on musical. There is musical elements, but it's not like the entire story is going to be told through song.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's
kind of what I figured.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they lost a lot of the audience because there is a good chunk of, especially people that enjoy superhero movies, that are like, I hate musicals.
Yeah.
So maybe they're trying to like pull back on that a little bit. It's like, hey, we're not all musical. We just want some artistic music, you know?
Yeah.
But kind of hinted towards your Rotter Tot earlier there with Madam Web. Why don't we update them on that? I have to address some more controversy, as I must have just used the wrong website or something, because I picked Blood and Honey, the Winnie the Pooh horror film. But that doesn't come out till March, so I'm going to be keeping that for March, but I will be taking a automatic loss for the month of February. It's just too late for me to switch, and I already had to switch with switching out Sesame Street for Parallel, so we're not going to abuse it too much, but Parallel comes out on February 24th, so by the time you're listening to it, that'll be a couple days. You may be already able to see the score, depending on how many people watch it, but from there, I was correct about Players being bad. It was the Netflix original starring Gina Rodriguez, amongst others. Was not a good movie. I was right about Suncoast being good, nice coming-of-age movie with Woody Harrelson. So that's great. So I at least got 2 wins, and then I'm waiting on the parallel, so I could potentially go 3-1. What do you got, Trent?
Yeah, so I nailed both Madam Web and Lisa Frankenstein. So Madam Web came in at 14%, and Lisa Frankenstein came in at half at 50%. So pretty even split, but does mean that it's a rot. So that point goes towards me. But I was wrong about my two tots. So Argyle was epically bad, 33% on Rotten Tomatoes, and then the Bob Marley biopic also came out this week, and from all accounts is also pretty bad, coming in at 44%.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that one definitely surprised me.
Yeah, we basically tied this month, but since Ty did pick a movie that comes out next month, I'm getting the points for this month. So
well, no, if parallel's good, I went 3-1.
Oh yeah,
and you went 2-2.
That's true.
So technically, I still have a better winning percentage because I'm 2-1 right now. We got to see if parallel ends up being bad. I'm 2-2, and we did tie. But yeah, I at the very least, I'm gonna get Blood and Honey. I think that's a pretty guaranteed rot, but that means you are on the clock to pick the tot, and I think I know what tot you're going with, and that one's probably a guarantee as well.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pick Dune. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a hit.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a hit. We've already talked about it. There's no way that this. I'm gonna go ahead and on record say there's no way that this is gonna be bad. So
I have a new rule. I'm pitching right now. Like a double down rule. So if you double down on it, like that it's gonna be good or bad, and you're wrong, it counts as 3 wrong.
Oh, okay.
But if you're right, it counts as 2.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right.
So if you want to double down on this one, you'll get double points for Dune being good, but if it's bad, you'll get triple points for it being bad.
Yeah, I'll double down on this.
Yeah, I think that's pretty safe. I read some of the social media reactions, which we probably shouldn't read those if we're going to be doing this, but
yeah.
It's like March 1st. We're doing this like in the middle of February, so it's like not even that close to the release, but
yeah.
With a big movie like that, it's kind of inevitable. So it is what it is. So yeah, he's going to go ahead and double down on that. So that will be your first tot. Why don't you give me a rot, and then I'll come back with a tot.
All right. My rots. Let's see, what did I write down here? So I'm going to pick the Adam Sandler Spaceman movie. So this is a new Netflix movie where Adam Sandler plays an astronaut who he realizes that the marriage he left behind might not be waiting for him when he returns to Earth. Desperate to fix his things with his wife, he is helped by a mysterious ancient creature that he finds hiding in the bowels of his ship. So typically a Sandman fan, but this one just seems like maybe it was just like a little bit something that he wanted to try a little bit different, and it doesn't look like it's going to be a hit.
All right. Well, that comes back to my tot then. And in case this is your first time listening, tot means it's good. Rot means it's bad. Goes off Rotten Tomatoes score.
Mm-hmm.
Should be fairly self-explanation. I'm going to go with one you've been hyping up. I don't know if you've been hyping it up. I just feel like we keep having discussions about it. So I'm going to say my tot is Kung Fu Panda 4.
Yep. I had that one down as well.
Yeah.
I think, kids love Kung Fu Panda. Jack Black, it's been a while since we got one. I feel like they're coming back to make a Kung Fu Panda 4. Hopefully
this is DreamWorks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with DreamWorks, that gives me a bit more confidence. They don't just make things to make things. They had to have some sort of idea for this to make it, to greenlight it. So I think they're going to put a lot of effort into this, and they want to hit.
Yeah. So go ahead and what about your rot?
Oh yeah, hit it with a rot. I mean that could go a few. Do I want to be toxic or do I want to like pick a easy one? Because obviously there's some strategy with that, but I'm gonna be toxic. I think that's the best way to do things. And there's a nice little franchise film coming out towards the end of March. That being Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire.
Yep.
So that's coming out. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just double checking because I can't tell if this movie has already came out. I feel like this movie's come out like 3 times already. I don't know if it was delayed or something, but I feel like I've been hearing and seeing this movie marketed for so long. I think could be good. It could absolutely be good. It's a really, really talented cast, and directed by Gil Keenan, who directed Monster House, most notably, and Poltergeist. He also directed Ghostbusters Afterlife. That's what I'm thinking of, which got a 64%. So he was right on the edge with that one. I think that this film will, I don't know, everyone seems very cynical right now. So if it's not perfect, I think it'll get ripped apart, being a franchise film. So that's what I'll be going with my rot.
Nice. All right. So do you want to go ahead and give your last tot, and then I'll give my last 2?
All right. Yeah, I'm down with that. So for my last tot, I'm picking between 2 because I wasn't sure which ones would be available. And I kind of liked the idea. Let's see. This month at least has had a lot more movies than last month. Last month I felt like we were kind of grasping at straws there a little bit.
Yeah.
I have to look these movies up after the Sesame Street debacle. Make sure that they're a real movie. That is always important, and make sure that it hasn't been released yet, because there's a ton of them that get released in 2024, but ends up being something else. We're gonna this is a mistake, but I'm gonna do Roadhouse. Roadhouse, the remake with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, okay.
Roadhouse.
And then so I will go with my other tot being Godzilla X Kong.
Mm-hmm.
That's coming out this month. So
I wasn't sure what to do with that one.
I looked back on it. Kong Skull Island, good review. Godzilla vs. Kong, good review. So based on that, and it being like a big blockbuster, I could see it doing well.
I could see it. I just something about like how many Godzilla movies it feels like we've gotten recently.
Yeah.
I feel it. Maybe the market's getting close, but if it's a good movie, it's a good movie. So
yeah. And then for my last rot, I'm going to take Ricky Stanicky. So this is
Ricky Steen.
So this is a movie starring Zac Efron and John Cena. It is when 3 teens pull a prank and burn down a house in their neighborhood. They create a fake person to take the blame, Ricky Stanicky. 20 years later, it turns out the 3 guys have been using this alibi to get out of every uncomfortable situation in their life. When their girlfriends or wives force them to to set up a meeting with Stanicky, they hire an out-of-work actor to play the part. So this is a rated R comedy.
Sounds kind of fun.
It sounds fun, but you know how R-rated comedies are received. So
yeah,
that's why I'm taking that.
Yeah, good call. I'm with that. All right, so that concludes our picks. Just to kind of recap that for our tots, the movies we think are going to be good. I went with Kung Fu Panda 4 and Roadhouse. Trent went with Dune and Godzilla vs. Kong. And then for our rots, I went with Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, and Blood and Honey 2. And Trent went with Spaceman and Ricky Stanicky.
Yep.
Should be interesting, I think.
Good month of movies.
All the ones, yeah. It looks like what is the total record here? Is it going to be decided by? I've gotten 4 wrong. You've gotten.
Looks like it's 6.
6 wrong.
6, yeah. Versus
so yeah, if I
7 and 5.
If I lose parallel, then I'm 7 and 6, or 7 and 5. Yeah, no, I'm 7 and 5 if I lose parallel. I'm 8 and 4 if I win. So, looking good here. You didn't get a single tot right this month.
Yeah, that was rough.
Shout out Suncoast. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and get into our no negotiation recommendation because we are running long, and we might even. Do you have one?
Yeah, I got one for you.
All right, go ahead and hit me with it.
So, I'm gonna give you Ben Affleck directed, Ben Affleck starring movie called Argo. It's based on a true story. It's really interesting. It's a really interesting story. I think you'll find it. I think you'll find it to be a good movie. I think it's Ben Affleck.
Right.
Ben Affleck generally is really good when he's directed by himself, I feel like.
Yeah. Okay. I'm interested to see it. I haven't watched many Ben Affleck directed projects. I don't know if I've watched any.
I think he directed Air.
I was going to say, unless he directed Air, then I saw Air. I'm going to go ahead and give you... It's tough because like a lot of the movies that you haven't seen that I've seen are horror movies, and I try not to give you just like a ton of horror movies.
Yeah.
This one's a thriller, but it's like not... It's not too bad, and you get to see Vince Vaughn make out with a child, so it's interesting. It's Freaky.
Okay.
2020 film, starring Vince Vaughn and Catherine Newton. I think it's an interesting film. It's a standard Freaky Friday concept, good old Freaky Friday situation, except instead of Freaky Friday situation with your mom or your friend or your boyfriend or whatever it is, it's a serial killer. So comes in a nice 102.
Concept.
Yeah, it's a 102-minute runtime. So nice, well-paced, solid film, and I'm interested to hear what you think about it.
Yeah. Awesome.
So if you're... Oh, we didn't go over 8th grade. Let's
I'll quickly do
go
that.
over 8th grade and we'll get out of here.
So, straight up stressful movie.
It
made me uncomfortable the whole time I was watching it. Yes, it was just... It had the most A24 soundtrack ever, where it was just like ominous music like the whole time, but it was like kind of cheerful music. But yeah, it was just like an anxiety-ridden movie that really does a good job of like making the characters feel like they're actually in 8th grade with like a lot of the like stuff that's around.
Oh, it takes you back.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's a really like good directed movie, or it's directed really well. And there was a couple like scenes where I was just like, why am I even watching this? Like,
yeah,
the scene in particular was like the school shooter scene when there's having like the drill with like the drama students. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is horrible.
Yeah, no, it's terrible. I appreciate that it exists.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting movie because it's 99% on Rotten Tomatoes, like we talked about.
Yeah.
But like 53% of Google users like the movie. Like, it is so well made, but it makes you feel icky when you watch it.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good. It takes you back to that middle school time, which doesn't feel good for most people going back to middle school. But I'm glad it exists. It came out in 2018. I was in middle school like 2012.
Yeah.
So it's not quite the same era, but it still gives me that same feel of 2010s middle school. So I'm glad it exists for that reason. But dear God, is it a tough watch at times?
Yeah, and it's like it's not meant to be for like kids that age, like because it is rated R, and it's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable like that. And it was a really it definitely executed like its purpose well, I felt like.
Yeah. Well, that'll be our show. We do appreciate you guys for listening along. We're coming in at about an hour 20 right now, so we're kind of that perfect movie length that I was talking about. So we don't want to go too far over. Albeit, I hope you watched this on like 1.5 speed. But if you didn't, I appreciate you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, deuces. Love you guys.
Peace.